Before trading for Jimmy Butler, the Warriors were looking like a team on the verge of collapsing. They were struggling to stay in the playoff race, they were dealing with roster inconsistencies, and way too much of the load was on Steph Curry's shoulders. And while the entire NBA world was shook over the Luka trade, the Warriors arguably made one of the best trades of the deadline as well, landing one of the best playoff risers in the entire NBA in Jimmy Butler. And to put it simply, this move has completely turned the Warriors' season around. Steph finally has a second star to lean on. Draymond has a defensive co-anchor, and the entire team looks revitalized. They've gone from fringe play-in hopefuls to legitimate playoff threats, playing some of their best since they won the finals in 2022. So in today's video, we'll break down the initial reaction to the trade, how Jimmy Butler's arrival has completely transformed the Warriors, and how, come playoff time, the Warriors will turn into a legit contender once again. Let's get into it. So at first, the move raised some eyebrows. Jimmy is a 35-year-old that's being paid $111 million in the next 2 days, and he had far from a smooth exit out of Miami. But those very few concerns are irrelevant compared to the many positives of acquiring Jimmy Butler. Jimmy allows for the Warriors to get a true second option next to Steph, who, as we know, is also getting up there in age. Steph is by far the best player to ever put on a Warriors jersey, and he's arguably the best point guard of all time, as well as a top 10 player to ever play basketball. The Warriors' window was slowly dwindling with their aging star, and now the conversation has completely changed. Cause let's be honest with ourselves, the Warriors have failed to provide Steph Curry with any help over the last couple of years. They had a very fast regressing Klay Thompson, who, as we know, was shipped off. Draymond solely plays his very important but very specific role, and banking on one of these young guys like Brandon Pajemski or Jonathan Kuminga to be a second option is not leading you to a championship. That's why acquiring Jimmy Butler is the perfect move for this team. This move gives the Warriors a legitimate 3-year window to go all in and compete one last time for a championship, especially with Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy all under contract until 2027. They owed it to Steph to give him some additional help and give him one last chance at a championship run. And it's not like they gave up a ton in the first place to get Jimmy. The Warriors are now poised to make a few more deep playoff runs, and they've geared up to make some serious noise in the West. And you might even question and wonder how the Warriors have been since acquiring Jimmy Butler. Well, it's fair to say they've been pretty damn good so far. In the 8 games that Jimmy Butler has played in at the time of recording this video, the Warriors have won 7 of those 8. The team has the 4th best offense in the league and the best defense as well. And Jimmy's stats may not jump off the screen, but he's been extremely impactful. He's averaged 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists per game on 43% from the field. But as we know, it's far deeper than the stats when it comes to Jimmy Butler's impact on the floor. The most obvious impact is on the defensive side of the ball, especially with him being paired up with Draymond Green. The two of them together are one of the best wing duos in basketball. They are constantly communicating, using their elite basketball IQs, and ensuring teammates are in the right position. The grit and heart of the two of these guys together defensively is truly special, and their defensive leadership has propelled the Warriors to the top of the league. They actively orchestrate the defense in real time, constantly directing rotations, assigning matchups, and keeping their teammates engaged. Their relentless intensity, competitive fire, and sharp defensive instincts make them an ideal pairing, allowing them to develop seamless chemistry almost instantly. Jimmy also brings a lot of help to this offense as well. He brings exactly what the Warriors were missing: rim pressure. Before his arrival, no one was consistently attacking the basket, but now Butler is driving with purpose, creating open looks for shooters, and putting teammates in ideal scoring positions with his smart decision making. His high basketball IQ has made an immediate impact on the offense. Another major improvement: free throws. The Warriors have struggled all season to get to the line, and even when they do, they have the worst free throw percentage in the NBA, costing them crucial games. That's where Jimmy changes everything. He's one of the best in the league at drawing fouls, and his elite free throw shooting will be invaluable, especially when the playoffs roll around. There's no doubt that Jimmy Butler has transformed the offense, relieving a huge burden from Steph Curry. And since Jimmy Butler has arrived in Golden State, Steph has been absolutely ridiculous. He's averaging over 30 points, 5 assists, and 4 boards boards while shooting over 50% from the field and over 40% from 3. And if you didn't get a chance to see what he did to the Magic, please go take a look after watching this video. He had an insane 56 points and made 12 of 19 threes while playing in just 34 minutes. If he played 40 plus minutes, he could have went for over 60 points and maybe even broken his fellow Splash Brothers record for the most made threes in a game in NBA history. I mean, that performance looks like unanimous MVP 2022 Finals or 2024 Olympics Steph Curry. If Jimmy is able to get this version of Steph come playoff time, along with playoff Jimmy showing up for the playoffs, this team is going to do some serious damage in the playoffs. And by trading for Jimmy Butler, the Warriors signaled to Steph that they are serious about winning again. Simply put, Jimmy Butler is one of the best floor raisers in the NBA. He doesn't just fit into winning teams, but he creates winning cultures wherever he goes. His impact goes beyond individual stats. It's about leadership, mentality, and making his teammates better. And he's proved it by elevating every team he's played for. This guy came into the league drafted 30th overall in 2011, and he fought to earn minutes as a defensive role player behind Derrick Rose and Luol Deng. By 2014, he transformed into an all-star and became the team's primary option after injuries derailed Rose's career. In the 2015 season, he won Most Improved Player, averaging 20 points per game while leading the Bulls to 50 wins and a playoff series victory. Even when Chicago traded Derrick Rose, Jimmy kept the team afloat, dragging them to the playoffs in 2017 despite an aging and dysfunctional roster. And although Jimmy departed for Minnesota in 2017, the Bulls have only made the playoffs once in 7 years. Butler landed in Minnesota in 2017 and was paired with young and inexperienced first overall picks in Cat and Andrew Wiggins. And before Jimmy even came to town, the Timberwolves had missed the playoffs for 13 straight seasons, which at the time was the longest active drought in the NBA. In his first and only full season there, Jimmy immediately changed the team's identity, bringing a hard-nosed defensive mindset and clutch scoring. Jimmy led Minnesota to 47 wins, which was their most since 2004, and ended the 14-year playoff drought. And let's not forget, Jimmy missed 17 games that season due to injury. When he played, the Wolves had a winning percentage of 67%, which is equivalent to a 55-win season. When he wasn't on the floor, they were practically a lottery team. And although he had a messy trade request in 2018, it was due to the infamous practice takeover, where he led a team of bench players to beat the Wolves starters and called out those starters for not being fully bought in and working hard enough. After Butler was traded to Philly, Minnesota immediately fell back into mediocrity, being so bad that they got the first overall pick in 2020. After Butler was sent to Philly, he instantly became their closer, taking pressure off of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons in crunch time. He helped lead the Sixers to 51 wins and a deep playoff run, averaging 19 points, 6 boards, and 5 assists while delivering clutch performances in multiple playoff series. In the 2019 Eastern Conference semifinals, he nearly carried Philly to the conference finals, forcing Game 7 against Kawhi Leonard's Raptors. He scored 25 points in Game 6 to keep their season alive, then had a clutch steal and layup to tie Game 7 with 4 seconds left. As we all know, Kawhi's legendary buzzer-beating shot ended their season, but they wouldn't have been close to getting there without Jimmy. Philly chose to let Butler walk in free agency, keeping Tobias Harris instead, a decision that still haunts them to this day. Since his departure, the Sixers have still never made it past the second round and have dealt with the fall off a cliff of Ben Simmons, Harden's brief stint, and Embiid never being able to stay healthy. Just another team that greatly benefited from acquiring Jimmy Butler. And of course, Jimmy's impact in Miami was undeniable and was the greatest span of his career. When Jimmy signed with Miami in 2019, the Heat were a borderline playoff team, struggling to find their next star after the Big Three era. In his first season, he completely changed the franchise's mentality, leading a team of young players to the NBA Finals in 2020, where he delivered one of the greatest finals performances ever, his iconic 40-point triple-double in Game 3. Under Butler, Miami made 2 finals appearances and 3 Eastern Conference Finals appearances in just 5 seasons, despite always being seen as underdogs. Just look back at his 2023 playoff run. He led the 8th-seeded Miami Heat to the finals. He averaged 37 points per game in the first round and dropped a 56-point masterpiece against Giannis and Milwaukee to eliminate the #1 seed. This guy simply turns into a different beast come playoff time, and now he's being paired with Steph Curry. It's about to get really scary. I think it's pretty safe to say that Jimmy is now on the best team that he's played for, and he's more locked in than ever. Not only is Steph the best player Jimmy has ever played with, but in the last 7 years, the two players with the most points in an NBA Finals game are Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, and now they're together. The crazy part, this almost didn't happen. Miami and Golden State had agreed on multiple trade scenarios, but Jimmy initially rejected the idea. Miami was willing to trade him, but he wanted to stay until they finally pulled the trigger. Before the trade, the Warriors looked like a fringe play-in team at best. Now, they're playing like a legitimate playoff contender. This team has a completely new energy, and this trade was about more than just basketball. It shifted the entire culture of the team, and it's not just the big three of Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond making an impact. Other key players have stepped up in a big way. Brandon Pajemski has shown major improvements in recent games. Moses Moody is finding his rhythm and making key contributions. Quinn Post has emerged as a key rotation piece, unexpectedly solidifying their front court. Gary Payton II is locking down opponents on defense, and Jonathan Kuminga's return is on the horizon, adding even more depth. The Warriors are only a half game back from the 6th seed in the West, and at this pace, the Warriors are on track to skip the play-in tournament entirely. Not only has the team performed better when Steph is off the floor, but he's also playing more minutes without getting as fatigued, a direct result of Jimmy Butler's ability to handle offensive responsibilities and control the game. Jimmy's defensive impact has been just as crucial. The Warriors needed more defensive versatility, and Butler has delivered. He takes on the toughest defensive assignments nightly, which allows Draymond to roam and create chaos. Since the trade, the Warriors have gone 7-1. Meanwhile, the Heat without Butler are struggling mightily, having a below 500 record and being multiple games out of the 6th seed, meaning they're very likely to be in the play-in tournament and most likely to play the Cavs or Celtics if they even make it out of the play-in. The numbers don't lie. This trade has completely changed Golden State's season. And the wildest part, we haven't even seen playoff Jimmy in a Warriors jersey yet. We all know he's not the type to go all out in the regular season. He saves his best for when the stakes are highest. Yet, even in just 8 games, his impact has been undeniable. The biggest change, relieving the pressure on Steph Curry. For the first time in years, Steph finally has a true second option, someone who can take on the scoring load and dictate the offense. Since Butler's arrival, Steph has been playing with more freedom, no longer forced to carry the entire offensive burden alone. Defenses can't just trap him every possession anymore. Now they have to account for Jimmy too, making the Warriors more dangerous than ever. No matter how you put it, the Warriors are simply a problem. Steph is locked in. Draymond and Jimmy are elite defenders. If playoff Jimmy shows up, nobody wants to face this team. You even heard Draymond say it at All-Star Weekend. He said that the Warriors are winning a championship this year. And while that statement might be bold to make with how stacked the Western Conference is, you cannot count out two of the best playoff performers in Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. And with the unbelievable performances these two have shown us in the last decade in the playoffs, they're now teammates, and the league really might not be ready for it. Do you think Jimmy Butler can help the Warriors make some real noise in the playoffs and maybe even compete for a championship? How do you think the big three of Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond will pan out? Do you think Jimmy will win his first NBA title as a Golden State Warrior? Let us know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more basketball videos. We'll see you in the next one.